It's easy to find arguments, theological arguments, on the ordination of women as Catholic priests. Theologically, it doesn't make sense, and that's out there. You can find that. Plenty of people have made that argument. I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to provide a different perspective. And that is the perspective of a Catholic woman who practices and believes Catholicism. So you should ask a practicing Roman Catholic woman how she feels about women's ordination to the priesthood. And the truth is that responses will vary. Many women who are less traditional, women who attend Mass nominally, and some who attend Mass regularly would say that they're generally in favor. But when you ask her if she wants to be a priest, the answer will be no. 100% of the time. Roman Catholic women who practice Roman Catholicism don't want to be priests. Some of them are generally in favor of, sure, that's fine if women become priests, but I don't want to be a priest. And they don't actually know anyone who does. So, is this a manufactured controversy? Because if there isn't an actual desire for this, isn't a call for this, why do they keep talking about it? Men can't be mothers, wives, religious sisters, or nuns. So why is it an issue that women can't be priests? Generally, it's not. It doesn't mean that women are unequal because they're not the exact same or not interchangeable. Jesus Christ was born of a mortal woman. Obviously, women are equally valuable to men in the Roman Catholic tradition. Is there any other mainstream religion, I'm not aware of any, that venerate a woman as highly as the Catholic Church does so, the Blessed Virgin Mary? I mean, I don't think so. The Catholic Church has always valued women. And the ways that women contribute to the Catholic Church and to society at large as Catholic women are as endless as the names of Mary. Just to go over a few of those big roles. The role of motherhood. Mary is Mater Dei, the Mother of God. Motherhood is highly valuable and valued within Catholic Church teaching tradition. So is holy matrimony. The etymology of the word for matrimony is mater, which means mother. Just a few examples of a long time ago and then more recently how the Catholic Church venerates mothers by canonizing women like Saint Monica, the mother of Saint Augustine, and Saint Zélie Martin, who was the wife of Louis Martin, and she was the mother of, I believe, 5 Catholic nuns, including Saint Therese. Those are just 2 examples, but Saint Anne, Saint Elizabeth, Saint Rita, who also became a nun later in life, are all examples of how the Catholic Church always shows that it values women. And speaking of Saint Rita becoming a nun later in life, consecrated religious life is also highly valued in the Catholic Church. I don't know of any other religion that values women's vocations to the extent that the Catholic Church has and continues to. The Church has spread completely monastically in certain societies like Ireland. And the Catholic tradition and magisterium, as well as sacred scripture, the manuscripts, have been preserved largely by monasteries. And monasteries today are continuing to preserve sacred tradition. They're also an output of really high culture, really high art, music. They also practice intercessory prayers, and women's religious communities that practice intercessory prayers on behalf of priests see fruit within their diocese of more priestly vocations and the priests being holy men and the diocese thriving. The Bishop of Lincoln has talked about this a lot, about how the consecrated women's religious communities in his diocese are largely to thank for the large numbers of priestly vocations. And this isn't a new thing that the Catholic Church venerates these women. This has always been the case. Teresa of Avila is venerated as a doctor in the church. So I can't think of any churchman alive today who is having anywhere near the impact on the church and on society at large as Teresa of Avila did in post-Reformation Spain, and then that spread worldwide through both her Carmelite order that she started, the Carmelite Order of Sisters, as well as her prolific writings. She's just as influential as any other doctor of the church. Saint Hildegard of Bingen was also another a mystic, and she was an abbess. And the amount of power that an abbess has, it's hard for us to have a concept of in today's terms, but there's a very, very powerful role being an abbess. She was a prolific writer. She was an artist. She was known for her holiness. And she's also venerated as a doctor of the church. This is a piece of her art, a vision of angelic hierarchy. Her art, you should just do a Google image search of Hildegard of Bingen art. It's amazing. Outside of consecrated religious life, the Catholic Church also recognizes the role of a queen or an empress. In the Greek Catholic Church, the Byzantine Catholic and all the Greek Catholic churches, they call the sacrament of matrimony, they call it the mystery of crowning, because they say mystery for sacrament. And that's when the bride and the groom are crowned at their wedding ceremony. And it's to say that they are the king and queen of the domestic church, and the domestic church is the center of the church. So the average everyday woman, wife, is a queen within the church in her own right. Another queen, one of the earlier queens in the Catholic Church, was Saint Helena, the mother of Constantine, she was an instrumental figure in the spread of Christianity. She really saw it go from a persecuted fringe that could have been eliminated easily within a generation to being the religion of the Roman Empire. So many other women saints that were queens that have interesting stories. Some that I recommend looking into are Saint Adelaide of Burgundy, Saint Elizabeth of Portugal, and specifically what she did with hospitals. Saint Hedwig of Poland, Saint Olga of Kiev, also Saint Margaret of Scotland, Saint Elizabeth of Hungary, and others. I wanted to list just a few other of the titles of Mary, just to give you an idea of how wide the roles of women are in the Catholic Church. Catholicism does not limit women in any way. Catholicism expands on the strengths of women, gives her spiritual graces and support in doing God's work in whatever that is that she is called to do. Unfortunately, modernism looks down on the roles of women in the Catholic Church, but that's because modernism devalues women in general. They see men as the standard, and women need to become men in order to be valuable. So I'm making this argument that women don't want to be Catholic priests, or Catholic women at least don't want to be Catholic priests. But we hear about these women who are illicitly being priests, and people going to the synod and synodality, and activists for this movement. So where is this coming from? Who are these people? All right, the Roman Catholic women priests. This there's a very comprehensive website. Someone did a lot of work together, or put a lot of work together to see like all basically trying to put all these societies together. And I think she's trying to make the effort that like, look, we are a movement, but it's actually just really sad.
Welcome to the community of St. Mary Magdalene, where everybody knows your name.
Devin, Nancy,
George.
Joanne.
We make an effort to use inclusive language, and all are welcome to take communion here.
So perhaps the operative word in all of this is the word healing, which is really the meaning of salvation. And to be healed is to be made whole, even if we have some ugly, painful scars.
Today, we'll talk about the roller coaster of transformation. How...
Okay, so I just wanted to put on the very beginning of their video to show that they're fundamentally not Roman Catholic. Right away, they wanted to tell you everyone is welcome to communion. Okay, so what is Jesus to you? Do you believe that, what do you believe, what is communion? Everyone is welcome to partake in Jesus. Why? Why would you just disregard Jesus Christ like that unless you don't really believe in transubstantiation, in which case you're not Roman Catholic? Further, and make my point further, so Bridget Mary Meehan seems to actually be the most prolific women priest. And she actually was able to get a group that met together for a few years. I think they had a service once a week. It was in a UCC building. But now they're just a Zoom church. They meet online for Zoom liturgy once a week. And then I think half an hour a week for Zoom prayer once a week. This is the height of a success of a women priest. This is the height of the success. And just to go on, to continue on the theme of they're not Catholic, watch this video.
He took bread in his hands and gave thanks and praise. He broke the bread and gave it to his disciples and said, "Take this, all of you, and eat it. This is my body, which will be given up for you."
Okay, what the heck? What's the point of even being a priest if you literally believe that every single person can transform the host and the wine into the body and blood of our Lord? Anyone can do that by putting up their hand and reading a script. So then what do you actually think a priest is? What is a priest to you? These people are not Roman Catholic. They do not have Roman Catholic theology at all, like not by a long shot. And these are the people that are advocating that Roman Catholics need to ordain women priests. But they are not Roman Catholic in ideology. They are not Orthodox in ideology. So why should we listen to them? It makes zero sense. Also, if you go to Meet the Ordained on this website, there's some interesting names that pop up right away. Like some of their women priests are named Nick, Rod, and Michael. Michael was accepted into several Catholic seminaries and he failed out of 3 of them. It was his fault. Then at 56, the Roman Catholic women priests made him think, well, maybe I do have a vocation. And he believes that he is taking his place among the church as being part of this schismatic group. He is taking his place finally with his vocation, even though he failed out of seminary 3 times. Because the Roman Catholic women priests will let him in, he's taking his place among the church. Okay. What? It's also really interesting where this ideology, where this push is coming from. It's generally coming from the United States, a little bit Canada, and then a little bit just the West in general, the Anglosphere in general. But overall, the United States, 0 in Latin America. And if you look at all the names of all the American women priests, even like in the southwestern United States, there's no Latina names at all. So that's interesting. And by the way, on those 5 Africans that are ordained, here they are. Her, 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 her. Oh, and her. Someone who was a Jew in South Africa, converted into the Anglican Church, was super involved in the Anglican Church, and then joined a schismatic, illicit liturgy referring to itself as Roman Catholic, but had nothing to do with that, called Open Table Communities in Cape Town. I don't even know. That's just not even a Catholic name, but it's led by Roman Catholic women priests. And so now this person is somehow a Roman Catholic priest that is a woman, and the only difference between her and the priest at my church is that she's a woman, and it's just about sexism. It's not that actually she's an Anglican and not a Catholic and has no foundations in Catholicism at all. Oh, and by the way, she's a deacon. She's not even a priest. And she lives in an eco-village. So, yeah, clearly it is all about the oppression of women. It's not that these people have different ideologies. It's just that they're oppressing women. When you go through this Meet the Ordained, if you just kind of scroll and look at some of these bios, a lot, if not most of these women are married and they have children. So they would not be able to be priests if they were men, because in the Latin Church, priestly celibacy has been part of sacred tradition and sacred magisterium for until like the early church fathers, at least. People can make an argument, all the way back to Jesus, but before the 4th century, before the 3rd century, at least that long, that's the tradition. So they would not be able to be Roman Catholic priests because they are married and they have children. It's interesting also, these pictures are not young women. Very, very few of the so-called ordained lead any type of public service or any type of prayer or anything at all. And it's interesting also that so many of these Roman Catholic women priests have no connection to the Catholic Church, no history with the Catholic Church outside of becoming a Roman Catholic woman priest. Like you read about the Jew who was an Anglican convert and then is a Roman Catholic woman priest. That person is somehow Roman Catholic? No, it's ridiculous. Also on this, actually this is really sad. The Find a Community, there are 0 functioning churches. This is not just an issue within Roman Catholicism, because you could say, well, this is like it's an illicit movement, that's why, but go to denominations where they've been having women's ordinations for 50 plus years even. Women aren't leading successful churches. They're just not. Not in Protestantism either. They're not. And I'm not going to get into the theology and make that argument right now. I'm just stating the fact that it doesn't exist. Promoting this idea that women should become priests or women should become pastors or whatever, you're setting women up to be in an unsuccessful role because they can go through all that education, but then not have a flock to shepherd. And they end up in these like clerical roles within the Anglican Church or whatever, or they're working in universities because no one wants, they're not wanted to be pastors. They're not wanted to be shepherds of a flock because Christians innately understand that that is a role that God gave to men exclusively. So the whole Find a Community thing is really sad. Yeah. We're told that this is the way of the future. The Roman Catholic Church has to ordain women to the priesthood, and they refer to their communities as inclusive Catholic communities. So this is the way of the future. Let's just take a look at the so-called future. future? It doesn't look like the future to me. It looks like the past. Hold up. Let me go back a sec. Wait. There she is, the future. There's one child that is the future of the Roman Catholic women priests movement. You will know them by their fruit. This is the fruit that modernism is bearing. Churchmen today like to put a lot of emphasis on the people who are dissatisfied with the Catholic Church and the Catholic Church's tradition and give them a special place in discussions. So all these schismatic women priests were given their moment, their special moment in the sun during the Synod on Synodality. And then after that, they've really gone back into obscurity. But they had their moment of people were talking about them. So people kind of keep bringing them up when they're just talking about, well, what's reform is going to happen next? Because reform is suddenly something that we're interested in as a church. Churchmen want to draw our attention to women priests. But where is God drawing our attention? Recently, God drew our attention here in Missouri to Sister Wilhelmina, who was born in St. Louis on Palm Sunday in 1924. She had a mystical encounter with Christ during her first Holy Communion. She knew from a very young age that she had a religious vocation. She was very devout and orthodox in belief. She suffered greatly for a very, very large majority of her life in the post-conciliar church, seeking sacred tradition and being denied her traditional rights until the age of 70, when she got connected with the priestly order, or the fraternity, the Society of St. Peter. It's a priestly order, and she was able to start a traditional order for women. And that's the Benedictine Sisters of Mary, Queen of Apostles. These are her spiritual children and grandchildren at their home abbey in Gower, Missouri. It is a very different demographic than the so-called future of the church, the inclusive Catholic communities. This traditional rite of Benedictine sisters has grown so much that they now have a daughter abbey that's starting, or I guess it's a house now. There's going to be an abbey in Ava, Missouri. With that group of young women, they're building an enormous monastery in Ava. Additionally, Catholic marriage continues to be the main place where Catholic women find themselves. Most women are called to be wives and mothers, most, but not all. And Catholic women do better in Catholic marriages. When they marry a Catholic man and get married in the Catholic Church, they are several times less likely to have a broken marriage, a broken family, broken home. And if they go to Mass weekly together, their chances of divorce are like negligible, almost nothing. Women are also involved in social activism in the Catholic Church. They are at the center of the fight for life. They're also involved in governmental affairs. Traditional Catholic women from the Blessed Virgin Mary until today have been enormously powerful, not only in the Catholic Church, but in the world. And I was thinking that maybe that's the problem. Traditionally, Catholic women have had significant influence in their homes, in the church, and in secular society. And traditional Catholic women have significant influence in their homes, in the church, and in secular society. But women priests, not so much. if you care about women's empowerment, you would want Catholic women to embrace their traditional culture because that's where they're most empowered in their lives, in their faith, and in their societies. But if you want to disempower women, you would encourage them towards modern thoughts and ideologies, such as disregarding roles given by God to women and going after roles that were not given to them. But if you only remember one thing from this presentation, what I want you to remember is this. Catholic women, that is, women who practice Catholicism, women who believe the Catholic faith and practice the Catholic faith, they do not want to be priests. There are no women today that the only thing standing in their way of them becoming a priest is that they have the wrong genitalia. That person does not exist. Because God does not call women to the priesthood. Because God does not call the vast majority of the people to the priesthood. But all of the people that he does call, they are also men. So there aren't women who have a calling to the priesthood and just aren't able to adhere to their calling, because that doesn't exist. Catholic women do not want to be priests. So stop bringing it up and start pushing your modernism on a different religion, because Catholicism has had quite enough of it.